It's day number 9 in what will likely be the final installment of the Ancient Inheritance series. Here is one more look at floor number 4. We only made one minor adjustment to the map, and that's that regardless of what side you started on, everybody's going to teleport to that right side island. And the reason is that right side island is guarded by a golem, which is a lot easier fight than the Scorpetra, who's guarding the left side island. This is a map that's a little bit more filled out, shows where all the loot is, to help you out in your travels. These maps will also be linked in the comments section and the description. So having defeated all of the wardens, I've already teleported to that right side island and have done just a tiny bit of walking before I ran out of provisions yesterday. Now, the priest is very nearby, and I have 68 provisions, so I'm going to slide down here and grab that warrior statue while I can, and a little bit of loot, while making sure that I have enough provisions left to hit the priest at least 4 or 5 times. Now remember, on floor number 4 you want to start picking up loot. Now I'm going to skip some treasure chests, but that's because I've counted the hexes and I know exactly how much reserves I have to be able to hit the priest as many times as I want at full power. So I'm kind of skipping the chest today. I plan on doing most of my chest looting tomorrow. Now before I grab the statue, I check to make sure my class enhancement is maxed. You want to do that so you don't waste the statue's value. Go ahead and grab the statue. Here's a relic that's on the way. I don't do mages and I don't need normal fights, so I grabbed the 16 extra provisions that will help. I'm going to snag this tent along the way. That'll give me 5 additional provisions. And now I'm going to start heading up towards the priest. I don't need the raised statue, but it's good to know it's there. You can raise your units, then walk back up and hit the priest again. One more relic, and that gold kettle would be nice, but I can't walk away from +2 to warriors. So I will grab that and replace my old warrior one. That should max out my warriors. Yeah, level 15 is the maximum you can get under any circumstances, so my warriors are all the way up to max level. I'll go ahead and drop a little bit of enhancement into my priests, and it's time to do my first priest fight. Now, the first couple of teams that I'm going to show you here are really high scoring teams. Now, given I'm at level 15 warriors and I think level 13 soul weavers, so I've got a pretty good level advantage going into this fight. But regardless, I think you'll really like these teams. They scored very well for me. I'm going to show off 2 teams that scored over 2 million points apiece, actually over 2.5 million apiece, and then I'll show 3 more teams that squeaked out 1 million apiece, mostly due to RNG, but also some misplays. So team number 1, which is by far and away my favorite team, I'm going to run Fire Ken. Fire Ken is probably one of the best units to take into Ancient Inheritance, especially if you can put a Rage and a Pen set on him. Counter set can also work on him. Next I'll pick up Conqueror Lilias. She's got an attack down, she's got a strip, she's got dual attacks, great unit for this fight. I'm going to pick up Green Yufine. Green Yufine has got a defense break on her S1, she's got a strip on her S3, and she does tremendous damage when she strips a debuff. And for my last unit, I'm going to pick up Emilia. Emilia is a really nice healer for this. Her attack buff, her push, her cleanses all work really well in your favor. For an artifact choice, I went with Doctor's Bag. I could have gone with Magahara's Tome for pushing, but I wanted the Doctor's Bag for the extra source of healing and cleansing. Ken I have on a Rage Pen set, and since it's early in the fight, I used Portrait of the Saviors on him for extra damage. Yufine, although she's a great damage unit, I needed some burns as well, so I gave her Junkyard Dog. And Conqueror Lilias I gave Cradle of Life for additional debuffs. I don't recommend using Hui Young's Artifact Gators because the burns dissipate when the boss takes a turn, so 1-turn burns don't really help you out. First thing to be aware of is to make sure you turn the auto function off before you waste a turn like that. But at least my Yufine took a turn, and although she didn't get a defense break, at least she got some debuffs out there. Though I'm running Ken without Vigor. Vigor from Conqueror Lilias lets Ken's defense break be a guarantee on his turn 2, so that's another reason there's great synergy between Ken and Conqueror Lilias. It's another reason this team does so well. In fact, so much so that I'm going to go ahead and push Conqueror Lilias with my Emilia. I'm foregoing the attack bonus for Ken because I really want to get Vigor on the board. There's no reason to use my S3, and the S2 doesn't do as much damage as the S1, so I'll try the S1 for a defense break. I do not get the defense break though. I don't particularly want to use Ken's S2 without the vigor buff, so I'll just do an S1, so I lost a round of attacks there, but that's okay. Even though it was a low scoring round, this team should pull through nicely. Now Emilia is saving her big cleanse, her S3 cleanse, waiting for the boss to take the second round, because when the priest does the second round, again, he puts defense breaks on everybody and seals skills, so you want to get rid of that skill. See, it's a lot of debuffs that I don't want on my party, so I'm hoping Emilia laps. I'm a little worried with how far back she is, but she's going to cut just fine. Now this is a great opportunity to use Yufine's S3. There's an attack buff on him, so when she strips the buff she does a lot of damage. 100k hit from Yufine, and that was without a defense break. Ken can use his S2 since he has Vigor, the defense break's guaranteed, and Emilia cuts in time to use her S3 to cleanse the majority of these bad buffs off. Because she has, normally she only cleanses 2 debuffs, but because she's wearing Doctor's Bag, she'll get rid of the 3rd debuff as well. That's one of the main reasons I put Doctor's Bag on her. Now we just hope for dual attacks with our DPS units instead of with our healer. We got one. Saving the S2 because it's a strip, and you'll want that after the boss does his, I keep saying the boss, but the priest. After the priest does his big attack, not this round, but next round, he gives himself a counter buff, and you want to have the ability to strip that counter buff. Here my strippers are Yufine, with her S3 or her S2 can remove that counter buff. Even though Emilia has her push ready, I want to save it in case I need to use it to make sure I get enough debuffs on. So I'm at the wipe phase. I need to get 3 or more debuffs that will stick. Remember, single turn burns and single turn bleeds will proc before the priest takes his turn, so you'll lose those buffs. So you need 2 turn burns and bleeds, and the other debuffs, as long as they're on there at the start of the turn, they'll stick. And that gives me plenty of debuffs, so I will be fine. I am really not sure if Ken is fast enough to catch Yufine, so I'm going to go ahead and push Ken up because I want to make sure that Yufine takes the next turn. I want Yufine to go next so that she can strip the counter buff off the priest, so I'm just pushing Ken up to make sure that Yufine gets her turn. Here's the wipe attack, which you need to have 3 buffs to survive. Now Yufine is ready to go. I'll use her S2, and S3 would be better, it's more guaranteed, but the S2 does successfully strip the counter buff off the priest, and that should clear the path for me to take this fight all the way to the final stage. We're already at 1.4 million and climbing, and we've got a lot of souls. The nice thing about this team with souls is if you soul burn Yufine, which is the perfect time to do it because there's a defense break and he's got an attack buff with extra damage, this should be a huge hit. Almost 300k from that one hit, and she gets an extra turn. And now it's Ken's turn. Ken also gets an extra turn if you soul burn his S2. Unfortunately, all of these reflect damage hits. Oh wow, I got a dual attack in there too. I'm probably going to die before Emilia gets to take a turn, just from the pop damage. But Ken hangs on just long enough to deliver one more big attack with his S3. And then there's the wipe that you just cannot survive. And that ends this run at 2.56 million points. That's probably the best run I've ever had on a priest, so I'm very happy with the score, and I think it shows the strength of this team. Now, here's my second favorite team for the priest fight. On this one, we're going to run a dual attack cheese team. So I'm going to use KittyClarissa for her dual attacks. I'm going to use Luna as my DPS. I'll use Camilla also for dual attacks once she gets an attack buff. And I'm going to use Green Lots as my healer. Now for this team, you will need to have Doctor's Bag on your Green Lots. Where is he here? There we go. Doctor's Bag gives you the ability to cleanse those debuffs. Camilla I put on Junkyard Dog because I want to have the burns to get past that wipe phase. I was really tempted to put a damage artifact on Luna. I probably could have got away with it, but RNG screwed me over last time, so I put Junkyard Dog on her as well, and I put Cradle of Life on KittyClarissa for even more dual attacks. In place of Luna, you could run Sigret. Sigret comes with so many debuffs, she's probably more stable, more reliable, but I think Luna does a little more damage, and she packs a defense break with her S3. Try it either way, whichever one you have enlisted, both should work fine. So I'm going to transform Kitty, and the reason is I'm pretty sure I can cycle her around to transform, cleanse, debuffs away on the next turn, and I want to start the dual attacks. I'll have Luna jump into her S3 to stick a defense break, which gets 15%ed. Okay, this is fine. Nobody's really hurt yet, so I'm going to go ahead and push up KittyClarissa to help cycle her skills, because remember, when she transforms, she full cleanses the team, and I want to try to cycle her around so she'll be able to do that. There's no attack buff on Camilla yet, so she can't do her dual attacks yet, so I'll use her S2 skill for that. That self-pushes her up, so she'll get in one more turn and dual attack with Luna. And Camilla's S1 also comes with a defense break. I'm just going to do an S1 because I'm trying to save Lotz's S2 for the DrBag cleanse. Oh, you know what? He doesn't have a Doctor's Bag cleanse anymore because I used his S2 to push up Kitty. Well, I guess I'm relying on Kitty to transform to get rid of these debuffs. Now, she's not ready yet to transform, but I'm hoping that Lotz will cut, can push her up, and then she can transform. It's going to be tight. There's a defense break up, so it's better to burn the S1 for damage. And that burned S1 does 170k damage per hit into a defense break. That's nice. So I get the heal off. Poor Lotz still has a defense break. I'm worried about that. Another nice 4-hit. Oof, man, Lotz barely survives, but Kitty can transform and get rid of that poison so he won't die. I could have timed this a little better, made the run a little safer, but it worked out okay. Now, we're one more hit away, and then I have to worry about the wipe phase, that 5th round where the boss will wipe you if you don't have 3 debuffs. We'll reestablish the defense break, because that'll last for 2 turns, so that'll be on there when the stage 5 happens. I'm going to push Lotz himself to heal him. The Doctor's Bag will also help heal the party, and then he can take the extra hit. Kitty comes in for a dual attack. I really need to stick more debuffs.
I'll cut your throat.
Camilla does not have a dual attack, so I'll just use her S2 or S3 skill for extra damage. There is a defense break up, so it's worth the burn. I am not sticking any debuffs. This S3 should top everybody off. I think those 3 debuffs will stay on there. Oh, but Kitty cut. I'm surprised she got a turn, so I should get one more chance at debuffs in there. That extra hit. Yeah, so now I'm totally protected, and I'm able to survive the 3-hit. Unfortunately, KittyClarissa is all the way at the back of the line, so I'm going to eat a couple of counter attacks. I may as well burn for the extra damage, and if you've got the souls, you should do it. This will hit us with a counter. And then Camilla, I'm just going to use Camilla's S2 to avoid the counter. Ah, she cut though. Okay. This will probably kill Lotz. Okay, Lotz is dead, but KittyClarissa is still in the game. She can use her S3 to cleanse, and then her S2, when Loveliness is up, is a 100% chance to strip, so this will get rid of the counter-attack buff, as long as you don't get 15%ed. And that's the end of Kitty. There's no defense break, so I'll use my S3 skill. It'll do more damage without a defense break. With a defense break, the burned S1 will always do more damage.
Leave it to me.
And speaking of burns, I'll get one more big burn into a defense break. And she survived that, so I get one more burn into a defense break. And here comes the wipe. That's another 2.5 million point run, so 5 million points in 2 turns. I'm really pleased with that. Now I did 3 more attacks. The teams I used either through RNG or through pilot error didn't do as well. Each one banged out about 1 million points. I'll go through those teams real quickly, though I'm not terribly impressed with their performance. They could be improved upon. I'll run the fights at high speed after I go through the teams. If you really want to watch the details of the fight, you can go into settings on YouTube and slow the video down considerably to normalize the speed of the fights. So this is a team that I've used on previous floors for the priest fight. I'm using both of the Khawazus. Inferno Khawazu packs a lot of burns and he self-cleanses whenever AoE attacks come in. Fire Khawazu is loaded with defense breaks and more burns. Sinful Angelica is there for the dual attacks, and Achates is there for my solid source of healing. I put Achates on Rod just because I was too lazy to change it to Doctor's Bag, but it's plenty good artifact for her for this floor. I put a Prophetic Candlestick on my Singelica because at her current level she's got almost 200% ER, so she should resist the strips. Just to make sure I have enough debuffs, I put Cradle of Life on Khawazu, and I put Junkyard Dog on Inferno Khawazu. This should give me all the buffs that I need to transition past that wipe phase. So real fast overview of the fight. You want to save Achates S3 to cleanse the turn 2 debuffs, the seal and the defense break, because those are the most important. If Fire Khawazu has got a defense break on his S3 that you want to get out there for damage. And other than that, it's just a constant set of dual attacks. The Prophetic Candlestick should make sure that Sinful Angelica's immortality is never down. And when you come up on stage 5, you want to make sure you do not use Inferno Khawazu's S3 because it will detonate all the burns and you won't have enough debuffs to cross into the next phase. I got really unlucky with RNG going into this phase. Although I landed a Cradle of Life heal block, I just didn't land enough debuffs. Even with all of the debuffing artifacts, I kept getting 15%ed on the resist, and that fight ended prematurely, which is disappointing as I think that team could easily have squeezed out another 1,000,000 points. So for my 4th team, I went as much damage as I could. I took Fire Cermia, I took Green Lilibet, and I took Alencia because she's got a defense break on her S1. Alencia is also my strip unit to remove the counterattack buff when we get to that phase. And I'm running low on healers, so I'm taking AngelicMomo. She's pretty good healer for this, especially if you put her on Doctor's Bag. It really boosts the amount of cleansing and healing she can do. Alencia I put on Junkyard Dog. Again, I want the debuffs. For the same reason I put Cradle of Life on Lilibet, extra debuffs. And Cermia, I was really tempted to put Portrait on her, but I decided the debuffs were more important. After getting hosed last phase for not having enough debuffs, I went ahead and put an additional Junkyard Dog on her. What makes Lilibet such an effective DPS here is if you use her S2 and you get bleeds on the target, she gives 100% CR push, so she effectively takes 2 turns. Even if you don't get bleeds, she still takes a 50% CR push. Cermia self-buffs with attack buff. I'm getting kind of unlucky on Alencia. She's not landing the defense breaks that I want on any of her hits, so because I'm running low on damage, I go ahead and soul burn Alencia to make sure I get the defense break. And with everybody dropping bleeds and burns and Cradle of Life, I'm stacked up fine on debuffs, so I don't have to worry about getting into the next phase. It is unfortunate that Alencia is so far back. I don't have a way to cleanse the counter, so I take a lot of hits from the counter. I just use Alencia's S3 there because I don't want to take 2 hits from the counter. Alencia strips with her S3, and that paves the way for me to run this fight all the way to the end. For a score of 6.9 million over the 5.8 million we had last round, that's a 1.1 give or take million point run out of that team. I thought it would score a little higher, but I was throttled by the fact that Alencia didn't land any defense breaks the first 3 or 4 attempts. And that really lowered my score at the end. So my final team, I'm going to try to run Tam and Iseria. I'm probably going to regret this because my Rangers are only level 5. I have focused solely on Warriors and Soul Weavers and have kind of abandoned boosting my Rangers. And level 5, all the way up on floor number 4, is probably not going to weather the storm very well. So this team would work a lot better if your Rangers are higher level. Next time I do Ancient Inheritance, I will probably not bother taking Tamarin at all, because Tam without Iseria is relatively useless in AI, but if you're going to take Tam and Iseria, you kind of need to commit to do a little more with Rangers and their class enhancements. So Mediator Kawerik is my stripper, he is my buffer, he is my cleanser. All around great unit for Ancient Inheritance. I put Junkyard Dog on TaranorGuard for extra burns, he is my defense breaker. And Tam and Iseria are my cleansers, attack buffers, defense breakers, debuffers, you name it. They're a power duo for Ancient Inheritance, as long as your Rangers aren't level 5. So I'm just going to sandbag a couple of rounds. One problem with having Rangers so unleveled is her speed is so slow, she always goes after Tamarin, again making her a little harder to use. But I reset Tamarin's skills and I use her S3 to get defense break established, and with SongOStars that gives me a target debuff as well, so I can do extra damage. That one hit took half of Iseria's points, she's not going to last long. If you get a chance to use TaranorGuard's S3 and do a defense break, do it. It hits remarkably hard. I'm going to save his S3 because I need it to cleanse the debuffs, and I'm going to transform Tamarin here, which means I won't have her ability to cleanse. So Kawerik is going to cleanse the seal and defense break that's getting ready to come at the end of this turn. Tamarin heals and tops off Iseria, so maybe she actually will survive a round. With her S1, she boosts the target debuff and the defense break if it sticks, and she didn't even survive that hit. So yeah, level 5 Rangers are not enough to cut it in this, and I'm going to have to 3-man this fight. I will go ahead and cleanse the defense break and the seal. I need the seal off of TaranorGuard so he dual attacks naturally and gets his push with the dual attacks. Since I lost Iseria, one of my powerhouse debuffers, I'm going to save that S2 so that I'm a little closer to that phase 5 so I can have that attack break from Kawerik to help push me into or past the multi-attack phase. We definitely need the heal. Poor Tamarin is almost dead, and unfortunately that is the end of Tamarin's idle form. Without Iseria to reset it, she is relatively useless for the fight. Unless I get lucky dual attacks with TaranorGuard, which I don't. So next round is the wipe phase. I'm going to need 3 debuffs. Right now I have 0. That burn will fall away on the priest's turn, so I need to get 3 more 2-turn debuffs. So hopefully I get the proc off of Junkyard Dog as well as the attack break. I get the attack break, but no proc off Junkyard Dog. But fortunately, Tamarin's ready to transform. And I'll use the S1 hoping for a proc off of Junkyard Dog on TaranorGuard, but I did not get one. Okay, I got the defense break, but I did not get the Junkyard Dog proc a second time, so RNG hosed me a bit there. I didn't get enough burns and enough debuffs stacked up, so it ended that round early. Still scored about 1 million points, 6.9 to 7.9 million, so still about a 1 million point team, but it could have been better. Well, tomorrow I get to go looting. I hope these teams help you with your priest fights and make the Ancient Inheritance event more enjoyable for you. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments section. If you enjoyed the videos, give them a like and consider subscribing to the channel. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.